Hey everybody, this is Cameron Vogelsang with Tennessee Electrician. Today, I'd like to give a few tips on how to be an effective helper. Hopefully this recording works out. I'm recording in my truck and it's hard to put out YouTube videos consistently with two little ones. We have a almost 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, so my time is consumed while I'm at home. But anyhow, I'd like to give a few tips on how a helper can be a good helper. Everyone that is a lead guy in whatever trade was more than likely a helper at one point, and you became a lead because you were a good helper. So I'd like to help some of those young guys out there who are inspiring to be a lead guy on what they can do to make that happen. So the first tip to be a good helper, I think, is to love your job. So if you hate your job, you're going to be a terrible worker, no matter what career you're in. I think if you love your job, you don't think of it as work as much. You don't dread it every day. If you really like what you do, then everything else I'm about to say will flow from that. So something that you want to make sure that you do as a helper, especially starting out, is making sure you're on time. Don't be late. Don't be always just barely making it even. I think being on time is late and being early is on time. Now, I don't live that perfectly every single day. Every once in a while, something comes up where I'm showing up right before 8 is when we start. But typically, I get to work 10 to 15 minutes before we're supposed to, leave the shop, and that gives me time to load up whatever we need to load up and to hear from our boss what we have going on for the day. So if you're a helper, make sure you start out on a good note and be on time every day. So a good helper is going to ask questions. A good helper is going to want to learn whatever trade they're in. A bad helper just kind of stands around and never asks questions and doesn't care and waits to be told what to do. And so a good helper is always learning, always asking questions. And the more jobs that you do, you will know what kind of material you will need for whatever you're doing. So for example, when you do a service, typically you will be piping up with some Schedule 80 of some sort. You are mounting meter bases and pulling wire or laying it in the ground. And so you have to think as a helper, okay, when you show up to the job or while your lead guys are working, okay, what are they going to need next? Don't stand around and then when they actually need something, they have to ask you to go get it. It's a lot faster and more effective thinking, okay, I see that we're about to strap these pipes to the side of the house. They're going to need straps, anchors, screws, glue, whatever else. But the point is try to anticipate what your lead guy needs and have that there for them whenever they are ready to do the next thing at the job. So like I said, a good helper is a sponge, meaning they're always asking questions and wanting to learn, and they soak all this information in to try and get better. So it's good to ask questions. Me being a lead guy, I would rather have my helper come back and ask me, another time or two, just to make sure they're doing it right before they mess something up. And so I would prefer that than just assuming or guessing on something and then you get it wrong and we have to go spend more time fixing it. Now, with that being said, there is a good time to ask questions and then there's a bad time to ask questions. A bad time to ask questions is if you're in a high stress environment or, I don't know, just kind of use common sense. Is this a good time to ask something or not? You don't want to keep going back to your lead guy every 2 seconds asking something either. Try to get all your questions out at once so that you don't have to go back to him, walking all the way across the house and then bringing him back to where you are, constantly. Try your best to get all of your questions out at once the best you can. So one thing that is a pet peeve of mine that you shouldn't be doing no matter what, if you're a helper or a lead guy or whatever job title you have, is constantly complaining. Now, do I complain? Yeah, Like if something happens where I have to fix something, I kind of sometimes, say something and then just move on from it, make a comment. But I'm talking about like your whole demeanor, your day to day attitude is just like always complaining about something. If you're always complaining at work about whatever it is, the job's probably not for you. Or maybe you just are in a really bad work environment and you should try and find another company. But you shouldn't be complaining about your work. You shouldn't be complaining about other coworkers. Now, I understand there's a time and place to talk maybe to your lead guy or talk to your boss about somebody if they're becoming a problem. But you shouldn't be talking about other coworkers behind their backs. If they're a problem, you need to go talk to someone who's higher up than you about it in the right way. But you don't want to be complaining about your work, your coworkers, and then especially your boss. And I see this all the time. Guys who maybe are first starting out, they're not making a lot, and rightfully so. Like if you are brand new to the trade, you're not going to make a lot because there's not a whole lot you can do yet. And as you learn and you're able to do more things, you'll get raises, or you should at least. One thing that I would recommend not to do is complain about your pay in front of your other coworkers or your lead guys or whoever it may be. If you have a problem with your pay, you should be going to your boss directly about it. When you accept a job, you accept the pay, you accept whatever hours it is, whatever days of the week it is, you accept that. And that's, between you and your boss. And if there ever becomes a point where you feel like you deserve a raise and you haven't gotten it yet, don't be gossiping about your boss to your coworkers. Go directly to your boss, because I promise you, it's going to get back to your boss eventually. And it's not going to look good on you because you wouldn't be a man or a woman and wouldn't go talk to him or her directly. And so you can do that in the right way too. It doesn't have to be ugly. You're giving your time away to this company, and you have the right to go speak to your supervisor, whoever, about your pay. And if you feel like you deserve a raise, then go talk to them about it. If they don't want to give you one and you think you deserve one, you can always leave and try and go find something else. But sticking around a place where you don't even like and you disagree with everything that's going on really says more about you than your supervisor. And so just keep that in mind. If you're frustrated about something, go talk to your supervisor directly. So I think I mentioned this earlier, but I'll reiterate it if I did. Make sure that you do a good job. Make sure that you're doing quality work. Don't leave things like half done, or like say that you're having trouble doing something, like for example, putting a light up and you couldn't get the base of the fixture flush with the wall. Don't just leave it like hanging off the wall to where you can see behind the base and see all the wires and everything. If you're having trouble with it, it's okay to go ask your lead guy for some help or some advice. I would rather you as a helper come ask me, okay, like, hey, this is what I got. I can't fix it. Can you show me how? And then next time it happens, you don't have to come ask me. You can just do it yourself. And then whenever you become a lead guy, you can help the next guy. And so don't ever be afraid to ask questions. If you're asking questions and your lead guy is always getting mad at you for asking questions, that's their problem. All right. So always ask questions and always be wanting to learn, and always strive to do your best and do the best work possible. And I promise you it'll pay off eventually. Also, with being a good helper, remember that you're a helper. All right. And, know your place. As a helper, it's not like whatever job you're on, it's not your job. It's the lead guy's job. And so you're there to help the lead guy do the job. And so when you are, getting things he needs, when you are setting him up to where things can be done more efficiently, that's taking a lot of stress off the lead guy. When you're able to do things well and do a good job on whatever task you're given, that takes a lot of pressure and a load off your lead guy, knowing that, hey, he can trust you to do X, Y, and Z. So your goal as a helper is to make the lead guy's job a little bit easier on him and take a load off his shoulders. So those are just a few tips and advice on how to be an effective helper. So if you have any questions or comments, just drop those below, and like and subscribe as always. Thanks for watching, and thanks for the support.